inevitable crossroad that every professional athlete faces in their career is knowing when to keep the dream alive and when to hang them up. Unfortunately, for the Calgary Hitmen's three 20-year-old players, Sean Chagall, Tyson Greenway, and team captain Tyson Galloway, the time to make that decision is now, as 20 years old represents your final year of eligibility in the WHL. As a result, by the end of this season with the Hitmen, these three players will have to decide whether to chase a pro contract, hang up the skates in favor of an education, or try and make both worlds meet halfway.
Obviously, it's in the back of your head knowing that after the year's over, at some point this year you'll be playing your final game in the Western League.
Thankfully, however, these players do have choices about where they want to take their careers. We spoke with Stacey Mayer, the WHL's Manager of Education Services, to learn about the career opportunities available to graduating players.
So any player that signs a standard player agreement with the Western Hockey League and then takes that agreement and plays with us is also then guaranteed 1 full year of scholarship dollars to go to an institution, post-secondary institution of their choice.
As a result, the WHL is not only covering the player's education, but also advocating for it through scholarships like the one they have in place. However, when something appears too good to be true, there is often a catch.
After your 20-year-old season, you have 18 months to make a choice.
As if deciding whether to forfeit their scholarship and commit to pro hockey, or forgo their professional dreams in pursuit of a free education wasn't stressful enough, this adds a time restraint into the equation. And still, despite all of this, the choice still appears obvious for Hitmen graduate Sean Chagall.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I want to play pro hockey, and it's a goal of mine. It's been my whole life pretty much. Obviously you can play hockey and have fun and help pay for your life and everything. That's the best way to go about it, I think, in my opinion. So that's what I'm working towards.
In fact, that seems to be the case with each of the Hitmen's graduating players.
3 years ago I was drafted, obviously, and wasn't able to get a contract, and I think that's adding a little bit of fuel to my fire to get some sort of pro contract at the end of this year and play professional hockey next year. That's my goal moving forward.
Yeah, I think everybody in the Western League, obviously their goal is to play pro hockey, no matter if it's NHL, AHL, overseas or wherever. But yeah, obviously pro hockey is the end goal here.
As it turns out, even Meyer notes that every player tends to have their minds made up as soon as they arrive in the league.
Not naive to the fact that when a 16-year-old signs that standard player agreement and comes to play in our league, their goal, probably 100% across the board is to play hockey for a living for the rest of their life and make a living out of it.
Regardless of whether these players have made up their minds, obtaining a pro contract is still difficult, and a lot of pressure and worry rest on their shoulders to perform well and be picked up by a pro team.
Yeah, it's definitely stressful knowing that it could be my last year playing pro hockey anywhere at all.
Of course, it's concerning to possibly see the light of a childhood dream dimming, and it's one of the most difficult realities for not only graduating WHL players, but athletes everywhere to come to terms with. And it's the type of conversation that Matt Brown, the mental trainer and counselor for Calgary's 3 hockey teams, the Flames, Wranglers, and Hitmen, has to be ready for.
So sometimes, those guys will come back kind of after they're done and be ready for that conversation, because the truth is a lot of them, they hold on for a long time to that idea that, like, I'm still going to turn pro one way or another here, and so they in adhering to that idea, sometimes that postpones the conversation about, where do I go next?
A big reason players tend to have such a hard time with this conversation is that, up until this point in their lives, hockey is all they have ever known.
The easiest thing for you to do when you spend that much time and effort on one thing is just to start to identify as, like, I'm a hockey player, that's who I am, that's what I'm all about. But the problem is, like, every player is going to stop being a player at that level, at some point. It's not if, it's when.
When you devote so much time and energy to pursuing a dream, you never stop to think about what comes next, which is exactly the issue that many of these players are afraid to confront.
And if you don't broaden your sense of who you are, that sense of self, then not only when you stop playing will you have to grieve the loss of the game, you'll in a very real sense be grieving the loss of yourself, and that's a whole other level to try and cope with.
As a result, one of the best ways a player can approach this difficult time in their life is to avoid ripping the rug out from under them. Instead, they can gradually figure out that process while playing hockey and attending school through Canadian InterVarsity Sport, also known as U Sports, which is the collegiate level hockey like we have at Mount Royal.
I think guys now are realizing, hey, I can go play hockey at a really high level that'll keep me at the level I need to go play pro a little bit later and still work on that backup plan or work on the future with the education piece tied into it.
Back in the day, U Sports and CIS was widely seen as the path to go if you're waving the white flag on pursuing a professional career in favor of an education. However, times have changed and these leagues are now serving as feeder leagues for pro teams in North America and Europe.
More of, okay, well, I'm getting what I need to ensure that I have a profession or a job or a trade afterwards, but also I'm still kind of living the dream because a lot of these pro leagues like the guys a little bit more mature, a little bit older, a little bit more developed.
So, it appears that you can combine the best of both worlds after all. In fact, it seems to be the trend for most graduates of the WHL today.
Of our 342 alumni accessing last year, 231 of them were playing on scholarship as well at the university or college level. So it's not the end of the road.
While graduating the WHL may present a monumental decision and a pivotal step in a player's career, it is not as dire as it is made out to be. Thanks to the WHL scholarships, players can continue to play and take their careers further than they ever could before. For the Calgary Journal, I'm Matt DeMille.